In December 1987, Carrington Slipways were selected over shipbuilding yards from across the world to build Australia's first multi-purpose research and supply vessel for use by the government's Antarctic Division. In July last year, the first of the massive slabs of steel that would make up its imposing body were cut, from there beginning one of the most lengthy, complex and important projects ever undertaken by the shipyard. During that time, after a national competition, it was named Aurora Australis. Today, right on time and at a cost of $60 million, the contract amount, the Icebreaker was ready to hit the water. The significance of such an event attracted a huge crowd, a flood of local politicians and the wife of our Prime Minister to perform the official duties.
I now have the great honour of naming this vessel Aurora Australis, and may God bless her and all who sail in her.
Positioned low to the ground during building to lessen construction costs, the Aurora Australis was slowly jacked up to teeter for several seemingly endless moments before it made its spectacular plunge. "90 metres long and 20 metres wide and weighing in at 4.5 kilotons, its entry into the water was spectacular and caused, not surprisingly, an enormous wave that sent spectators at many vantage points scurrying for dry ground.
I thought it was marvellous, so dramatic.
Did you think it was a little bit more spectacular than you thought it would be?
Oh, very spectacular. I've never seen a launch like that, except in the films years ago, and I remember thinking then, even as a little girl, that it would tip right in.
But although the Aurora Australis hit the water today, it won't be seeing the ice of the Antarctic for some months yet. It'll be kept here at Carrington Slipways until at least December while complex machinery is fitted out, and then it'll be handed over to P&O to undergo lengthy sea trials. It's the first icebreaker to join the P&O fleet and will be chartered to the government for use as a supply and personnel vessel operating between Hobart and the Antarctic. It's capable of carrying 130 people for up to 3 months and holding fuel enough to cover 14,000 nautical miles. Its building was at the time a major headache for Carrington Slipways staff. It had to be fitted with thick high corrosion steel and extra ribbing to ensure it can carry out its key duty, icebreaking. That will be aided by the styling of the ship's bow, sloped in an S shape to allow it to ride up and over the ice, then use its enormous weight and 10 megawatts of diesel power to smash it apart. But despite all those difficulties, staff involved in its building were today clearly proud of what they'd achieved.
It's a real nice feeling to see something like that. All the chaps have put a lot of work in it, a lot of time in it, and to see such a great thing go in like that.
Parents proudly looked on as the kids from Plattsburgh Public trod the boards. It's a first for the school to have so many students in the one show. All 680 are joining in the 2-day festival. The real crowd pleaser came with first grade's version of that famous Tina Turner number. Perhaps these pint-sized performers could show Sam Stewart and the boys a bit of fancy footwork.
With hunter unemployment at 8.7%, you would think any job would be snapped up. However, according to one Newcastle employment agency, it simply cannot get experienced Boilermakers.
Well, in the last week we've received calls from 8 major companies requiring Boilermakers. In Newcastle there's a very, very large shortage of Boilermakers.
Dennis Crampton says he has 92 vacancies but no takers. The recent surge in demand is related to shutdown or end-of-year maintenance work within engineering firms. The CES, which has 11 companies on its books looking for workers, says many people balk at the positions because they're often seasonal or casual. In his small engineering business at Wickham, Brian Wilson says he has been desperate to get staff.
Over the last 6 months, we have had a problem.
Brian says the future is looking good in the engineering business. All that's needed is the tradespeople. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The meeting brought together 70 delegates representing 6,000 caterers, clerks, cleaners, launderers and maintenance workers from Muswellbrook down. They're angry at state government claims that private contracting will be more cost-effective and say they haven't been given the chance to prove their own efficiency.
The government to date have been unable to tell us where the services are inefficient. Now, they have produced a standards document that will go a long way to bringing hospitals to one standard throughout New South Wales. That will be a document we'll be able to work with and then prove to the government that the services we provide are efficient.
So determined are they that a resolution remains for industrial action if the government goes ahead with privatisation moves.
The association is about genuine cost effectiveness. We are not about wasting the government's money and the taxpayers' purse, that we can get a position that will clearly demonstrate that our members are efficient.
The government has already targeted the Hunter as a site for a private incinerator and a private laundry operation, which the HNREA claims generates government revenue at present. Michael Williamson does not want to see the people of Newcastle miss out again.
The linen services in New South Wales are money-making machines for the government. They make a profit, and what we're saying is that if they've called for an expression of interest for the services in Newcastle, that if those services should remain in Newcastle, we don't want to see them go outside, that there is a genuine commitment to the region and that the people of Newcastle are looked after.
Newcastle received scholarships from the MLC Junior Sports Foundation today. To be eligible for the scholarship, the athlete must be ranked in the top 5 in the state or the top 10 nationally. Since the scheme was set up in 1981, in excess of $1.9 million has been invested in the future champions, and some 2,950 boys and girls have benefited from the program.
It provides the athletes with an opportunity to progress in their sport. Obviously, I think the most important thing is that they have the dollars to enable them to travel and upgrade their coaching, and also to provide them with equipment. So we have a cash allocation for the recipients. We then provide them with special tracksuits and polo shirts, and also a 3-day sports camp.
Joining 9 previous recipients were Lee McKechnie for golf, sailor Bart Smith, Jamie Jenkins for surf lifesaving, surfers Chad Edzer and Beau Emerton, and top young swimmers Angela Matthew and Peter Watts. At the university squash courts, the House of Learning has combined with the Hunter Academy of Sport to provide 4 scholarships of their own. Debbie Palmer of Rankin Park received a scholarship to January's coaching clinic in the field of hockey, as did Ryan Walker for boys hockey. Talented Carl Freeman will attend the soccer camps, while Lydia Grogan will gain tuition at the netball clinics. President of the Sports Union, Dr Bernie Curran, is delighted to see the university and the HAS combine in such a way.
It's something that's been on the drawing board since about 1983. We've encouraged the formation of the Hunter Academy of Sport. Our executive officer is highly involved. Our former executive officer, Harry Bradford, is involved. And the whole direction has been for us to make our facilities available for the kids and to encourage the best kids in the area to get the best kind of coaching and expertise.
Whitebridge High has a proud record in the study of mathematics after excellent results in the HSC and Year 10 moderator exams. Today, the hard work paid off, literally with the prize for second place in the Pro Maths competition. In August, 250 students from the Hunter and 250 from Northern Sydney schools sat for the exam. Students from Year 7 through to Year 12, all given the one paper. Not a competition for individuals, scores were tallied for each school, leading to Whitebridge High's impressive result behind Sydney's Knox Grammar.
We regard this as an outstanding result. It reflects the hard work of the students and also the diligent teachers, and the school community is very proud of them.
Crump was driving this Falcon sedan east along John Renshaw Drive at 6:45 this morning. 4 kilometres from Curry, at a place called Butt-Eye, a strap holding the load of aluminium rods onto a tray truck travelling the other way broke. Several pieces bounced off the road, one of them piercing the windscreen directly in front of the driver, who died instantly. Crump's passenger was slightly injured and has since been discharged from Curry Hospital. 2 other vehicles were also struck by the aluminium rods, but no one else was injured. Police are investigating the accident and could not yet say if charges will be preferred against the driver of the truck.
Some commuters between the city and Broadmeadow travelled free today, and while many no doubt enjoyed the ride, few would have realised the significance of the event. Today's travellers were the last to board a Newcastle Leyland bus in service. For 53 years, Leylands have formed the backbone of the Newcastle bus fleet. At one time, 206 were rumbling along city and suburban roads. However, even the newest are around 16 years old and have outlived their usefulness. The State Transit Authority has been slowly commissioning new Mercedes buses to replace the Leylands, and when the last 3 were officially retired today, Newcastle made history, becoming the only city in Australia to have an all-Mercedes fleet. Although the Leylands are unlikely to be overly missed by the travelling public, some see their departure with sorrow. The drivers say there's just no challenge in driving those new buses.
You've got to drive those where the Mercedes drive themselves. It's never an automatic.
On the other side of the coin, however, 3 historic transport societies which inherited the old people movers. Although the vehicles are worth around $6,000 each, the Minister for Transport agreed they should be donated as a piece of Newcastle's history. So, although they will no longer carry paying passengers, these well-known shapes will still evoke the odd nostalgic memory in parades or displays for years to come.
Regals were the minor premiers, with Oxford's just behind them, and in the previous 2 outings, Regals had won by a penalty goal on both occasions. It was pretty even for most of the first half, but the break came in the 27th minute. Regals were attacking, and after a goalmouth scramble, they were awarded a penalty as the ball had come off Chris Finance's foot. Desley Andrews stepped up to take the shot, and her heart must have taken a flutter as she saw it slowly roll into the net for Regals to go 1 up. Some excellent hockey was played in the second half on a ground that was anything but perfect. Time was running out for Oxford's, but with 3 minutes to go in normal time, Chris Finance and Leanne Johnston combined to grab the equaliser, and the match went into extra time. Oxford's then dominated the remainder of the match. The next goal came after Jenny Randall played superbly to get the ball to Karen Belcher, and she made no mistake to give Oxford's a 2-1 lead. Then Chris Turner put the issue beyond doubt from wide out. She struck it perfectly, and the Regals goalie had no chance. With that goal, Oxford's were crowned the 1989 champions, 3-1.
"80 bikers and their ageing chargers are here to help the club celebrate its silver anniversary. Motorcycles dating from 1916 are on show, from the classic Matchless and AJS to the distinctive lines of the Harley-Davidsons and Triumphs. Not quite state-of-the-art, this 1929 550 Triumph has a top speed of just 120 kilometres per hour. The real partying began on the road, as the motorcyclists gave the vintage bikes a workout in a leisurely drive through the countryside. To vintage engines of another kind, the Hunter Valley Vintage Farm Machinery Club has put its wares on show in Maitland. 400 old pumps, engines, tractors and bits and pieces resurrected from the depths of the back shed. And while some of the machinery proved to be a handful, most ticked over like clockwork.
They don't make them like this anymore.
Only 4 of these Crossley 1.5 horsepower horizontal engines exist in the world. It used to be used as a water pump at Raymond Terrace. Now it belongs to collector Reg Ingold. Reg admits you have to be a little eccentric to hoard old farm machinery, but says he wants to preserve history for future generations.
Basically, we're out to restore and save these type of things so they're there for our grandchildren to see. They've all but disappeared.
What sort of a relationship do you have with the machinery?
Well, I'm not allowed to take it to bed with me.
Your wife gets upset with you, does she? The display at Maitland's Walker Waterworks continues tomorrow. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Newcastle got away to a perfect start by beating the Central Coast 9-4, and they improved on that performance in their next match by thumping Bathurst 18 runs to 2. In the remaining match for the defending champions of the FAI Shield, Troy Halliday pitched a perfect game to give the home side a 14-0 win over Illawarra. Tamworth chalked up a win over Bathurst 16-5, and Illawarra got into the winner's circle with an easy win over Tamworth. The final round of matches will be played tomorrow. Over 470 men, women and teenagers greeted the starter, and what lay ahead was a 1 kilometre swim followed by a 32 kilometre bike ride to be finished off with a gentle jog of 10 Ks. And the competitors couldn't have asked for more ideal conditions. It was like salmon spawning season as they took off in the swim section, with the stronger swimmers setting a fearsome pace. As they entered the home straight of the swim leg, conditions changed rapidly as they ran out of water, thanks to the banks of the Cockle Creek Channel. Amazing sights from the shoreline as the athletes seemed to be walking on water. Rick Pallister was the first to hit the shore, with Dean Piazza and John Spot Anderson in close pursuit. Melinda Menther and Sarah Fain emerged from Chili Lake Macquarie as the leading ladies. But on the bike leg of the 32 Ks, 2 triathletes left their opponents in the dust. Number 31, Greg Welsh in the green trunks, and Mick Moroney, both from Cronulla, gapped the field to set up a winning lead. Welsh had won this event on the previous 2 occasions, and Moroney was making a comeback to the sport. As they came into the changeover station for the last run leg, the 2 had set up an enormous lead over the rest. Melinda Menther held her lead, but quite close was Macaulay Jones. Eventually, 1 hour, 33 minutes and 57 seconds after the start, the defending champion Greg Welsh crossed the finishing line to the generous applause of the large crowd. A further 3 minutes in arrears was teammate Mick Moroney, followed a further minute back by Spot Anderson. But there was a change to the ladies as Macaulay Jones had put in a tremendous run leg to finish first in the time of 1 hour, 49.31 minutes, ahead of Claire Turner, who was wrapped in her second place finish, with a gallant Melinda Menther third.
Eyewitnesses say it took just 15 minutes for the fire to destroy this rented house in Wyoming near Gosford. The children's grandmother and legal guardian, June Morgan, was next door with friends when the blaze began. Comforted by her neighbours today, she spoke of her helplessness to save her children.
It was a raging inferno. Lots of people made desperate attempts to get at their children. There was hardly any water shortage, it was just a trickle because they had lots and lots of hoses going, and I heard the babies crying and I couldn't get to them.
The fire brigade believed the blaze was caused by a toaster that the children were playing with on a lounge room chair.
I don't know whether they were trying to make toast or whether the toaster was faulty, and then it caught the lounge room alight, and by the time we got there the house was well alight, going through the roof.
Despite the inferno, June Morgan tried desperately to get inside the house.
Baby was barely conscious, and the other one, I went there to try and get him out, and the wind blew at me. All the windows come out, and then I just about reached him and got him, and the door just flew out at me. I couldn't catch him.
A 25-year-old retarded woman, the natural mother of the children who was in the house, survived, but she was unable to assist the two boys. 17-month-old Charo Morgan, photographed here with brother Elvis, died as a result of severe burns. Miraculously, the 4-year-old brother was rescued by a neighbour's friend.
So I raced in through the door, kept pretty well close to the floor, and I found one of the children lying face down in between the stove and the kitchen cupboard, and I grabbed hold of him and brought him outside, around the side of the house, and got a hose and played some water on him until help arrived.
A series of tragic fires in the area, including the death of 2 teenagers near Maitland last weekend, has renewed calls from the fire brigade for increased public awareness. Ironically, today is the first day of Fire Safety Week. With the school holidays ahead, Fire Officer Graham Leahy says more care must be taken to supervise children.
We have to educate the parents of families, if they are working during the school holidays, to please keep their children supervised and attended to at all times. Do not leave them at home fending and cooking for themselves.
It may not look like it, but this is a crime scene. Across the state, the Coles New World chain alone loses nearly $3 million worth of goods each year to shoplifters. But there is a new weapon to fight this massive theft. Meet the Newcastle Police's latest recruit, Constable First Class Michael Alders. Is 2 metres tall, he works 7 days a week, and he never takes his eyes off the job. The cardboard constable will be issued to all major supermarkets.
We're aiming this in Newcastle at the young persons, the school students. We want to be able to let them see that there is a policeman in a store of these large things, and hopefully it is at a deterrent.
Studies overseas show a reduction in shoplifting of up to 70% with the silent cop on duty. Constable Alders was certainly a point of interest today. However, supermarkets admit the hardened thieves will still be trying to outwit the system.
We had this lady come in and she was pregnant. And one of our security ladies watched her from time to time, and after about 18 months we thought, well, this lady's never going to have a baby. And sure enough, we decided to watch this lady, and what she'd done is she had a wire cage built over to make herself look pregnant, and she'd actually been putting stolen goods down there. So for 18 months this lady was pregnant, and pregnant with our goods.
Newcastle police have arrested 89 shoplifters in the last 4 months. However, they estimate 80% of offenders escape. Peter Ryan, NBN News.